makes sense to break these up into kind of the historical vectors and the current vectors. And there is some overlap, but I guess I'll start back in the bad old days. Historically, it is thought that most of these invasive annual grasses got introduced either as seed contaminants, seed for crops that were brought to this country from other places, and also in soil that was used as ballast weight in ships. And then, in the bad old days, as that seed was moved around, and maybe especially in grain farming operations around the country, it's thought that some of these invasive annual grasses spread with the seed for some of those grain crops, and then even on the machinery that was used in farming and harvesting those crops, and for sure in straw that was moved around, and straw that was used for packing in the early days. And now currently, I think all of that about the animals moving seeds of these grasses around still fits. A lot of our invasive annual grasses have little hair-like appendages that come off the seed. We call them awns. Some of those awns, like on Medusa head, have really sharp barbs because of the silica content, and they really hang on to fur and hair and feathers and people and their clothes. Some of these grasses also have really sharp points on the ends of the seeds and the little tufts of hairs that help them kind of work their way into, again, fur, hair, feathers, socks. So moving around with animals, wild and domestic animals, as well as humans. Thinking about animals, some people say that seeds of these invasive annual grasses are moved in feces. So the herbivores consume some seeds along with other parts of the plants, and those seeds make it through the digestive system and come out the other end. Maybe so, I guess, maybe even probably so, but there are still questions about how many seeds make it through ruminant digestive systems and are still viable. So that's a possibility. A little bit more on people, thinking about us and our activities. I just wanted to mention that, vehicles, whether we're on a four-wheeler, pickups, construction equipment, all of that stuff can move seeds of these invasive annual grasses around from one place to another. And this could be recreational activity, construction activity, agriculture, vegetation management. So there's quite an emphasis on cleaning equipment, being sure we're not moving these invasive grasses around.
I'm not sure that we actually know very well. This is one of those things that doesn't seem to have been studied a lot. I think we speculate on a lot of things: wind, vehicles, people, animals, ATVs, things like that. And I'm not sure that it's fully been documented. And I would say it likely depends on species as well. So we have seen things like ventinata break, the inflorescence break and tumble as though it's a tumbleweed. So that would lead to wind dispersal. But my guess is that heavier seeds such as cheatgrass or Japanese brome or maybe Medusa head, especially with those sticky appendages, may be more likely to be spread by animals or humans or other things. When you think about the way they stick in your socks or the cuff of your pants or in your hiking boots, they're clearly adapted for some kind of mechanical spread.
Well, seeds get around in a lot of ways. And there hasn't really been much research into this area. I think we would probably all be surprised if we could put a little tracking chip on a batch of seeds and just see exactly how they move around. We can assume that seeds get moved by animals, both wildlife and livestock. They probably also get moved by water and wind. So these are, common ways that seeds of any plant are moved around. Seeds also get moved by vehicles and machinery. There's a reason why we see a lot of invasive annual grasses and other weeds growing along roads. The seeds get moved along these pathways, and these pathways are also disturbed environments. So they kind of create a perfect storm for invasive annual grasses and other weeds to grow. The seeds are there, and there's a lot of disturbance, so they have an opportunity to do well. Finally, I think a lot of invasive annual grass seeds get moved through hay and seed trade. So depending on the species of invasive annual grass and the state or county, they may or may not be on a noxious weed list or a restricted species list. So to complicate that situation, it's also hard for people to see invasive annual grasses when they're growing, like in a grass seed field or a grass hay field. So they could get inadvertently harvested along with the desired grasses and passed along in the product.